Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Tempe. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts we play in our professional lives and learn about the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today, we have Ryan Kauth joining us. Ryan is an executive coach, a founder, a fractional executive. He works with family business owners, serial founders, and startup leaders at critical points when they feel stuck, overwhelmed, or uncertain about what comes next. Today, Ryan and I are going to be talking all about entrepreneurship. So welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you so much for having me on, Andy.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, we are both Wisconsinites, and we had a nice chat about being from Wisconsin. Charlie Barron's, the comedian, the whole nine yards. So we'll just try to avoid giving people direction, shall we?
Absolutely, that's not our strength at all.
Oh, yeah. So, Ryan, before we get started in earnest, what's the elevator pitch version of your story?
Yeah, the elevator pitch of my story is I've had many really good coaches throughout my life, which has really kind of crafted how I coach and really who I coach. And so, as you were saying in the beginning, I typically work with serial founders when they have hit the valley, the lowest point in their lives. And that's usually kind of when I get the call. It would be nice to not get the call at that point, but that's typically when I'm called in. And I also work with family businesses to work on their multi-generational harmony. And I stress that word and that phrase because there's a lot of things that you can try to do, but really the multi-generational harmony is probably the peak of family in family businesses.
Yeah. How about intergenerational harmony?
Yeah, well, that's what it is. I mean, you've got your kind of typical example. You've got your founding couple, you've got adult kids in the business, and you've got grandkids that are running around the office or the lot or the floor or whatever it is. And getting them all on the same page for the sake of the family and the family business for the grandkids. That's one of my secrets per se in developing that multi-generational harmony.
Do you find that intra-generational harmony, meaning the siblings, is there a particular level where it really gets sticky?
Yeah. Oh, that can get very sticky, especially when you have siblings who are working in the business and not working in the business. They're all owners. And there's this kind of this level of what's fair, right? That kind of typically pops into everyone's mind. And, fairness is fairly relative. I'm sure we've all had adults tell us life isn't fair, right? But fairness is not the goal. Harmony is the goal. That's the goal.
Awesome. So, Ryan, you said you had some amazing coaches in your upbringing, your formative years. If you had to pick one event in your life that was a key accelerant for your career, what would that be?
Yeah, and I would say this was pre-career, right? So I had an awesome middle school basketball coach, and I think the most points I ever scored in a game was like 9, so I never hit my double-digit goal. But for whatever reason, he would put me in the game because I knew the plays and I could play defense, right? And so I learned from that everyone has a competence, and as a coach, you can pull that out of someone or encourage the pulling those competencies out of someone. So honestly, from that experience, that's what's really driven me as a coach to make sure that the folks I'm working with, we pull those competencies out and and by doing that, you give them opportunities to do that.
Is part of that story that not everybody can be the star of the show? Not everybody is
Sure.
Scoring 35 points a game. There are the workhorses and the folks that are playing defense and doing a great job doing it.
Yeah, and then all my younger siblings were those people, right? Not me, the older brother. Um, and so there are also people that don't want to be the stars, but they want to be part of the team and they want to contribute as much as they can to the team. It's great when that star can kind of be that player coach and pull competencies out of people. Again, we're from Wisconsin, so we would say people like Oscar Robertson, not Michael Jordan. We don't want to talk about Chicago, right? But Michael Jordan was really good at pulling the competencies out of everybody on the team and making everyone around him better, right?
Yeah.
But it typically doesn't work that way. However, when I work with serial founders, that is exactly what we work on.
Mm. Yeah, I just think leaders get caught in this trap sometimes of always going for the hypos, the high performers. I want a team of all high
Of A
performers
players.
and
Yeah,
and rock stars, and that's
right.
just not how the world works.
No, and I think Phil Jackson was the one who kind of made everybody realize, we need 2 or 3 stars on the team, right? 2 potential Hall of Famers, 1 maybe, like, almost there, and then everyone else around him are these role players that can, pick up things that, let's be honest, the stars actually can't do.
Right. Yeah. So, Ryan, today's show is going to be all about entrepreneurship, some leadership lessons thrown
Yeah.
in. We've already gotten started on that. But I want to start with your background in formal training in
Mhm.
entrepreneurship at academic institutions. You've taught entrepreneurship at several prominent universities. You've helped develop the entrepreneurship at UW Green Bay. But the but to that is, if you talk to business leaders, some of them have convinced themselves that entrepreneurship can't be taught. What do you say to the skeptics?
Yeah, entrepreneurial skills can be taught, and you can certainly, teach different elements of business, marketing, finance, things like that. I would say if someone tells me that, I would say, "You know what? You're right. But here's what we actually do in an entrepreneurship program." And the entrepreneurship program really is built for students who are doers and not the ones who are passive learners. And as the generations come through who are of traditional college age now, the current generation of traditional college age wants to do something. And it might be solve a social problem, but they really don't know how to go about doing that. And so an entrepreneurship program can teach them how to spot opportunities, and leverage those so that you can build a profitable business solving a specific problem.
Yeah, and you can be the way I view it. My experience with entrepreneurship programs is, even if you go and work for Procter and Gamble, a big company, but you've
Right.
been through some entrepreneurship training, it
Mhm.
tunes your antenna within a larger organization to become an intrapreneur and
Well, sure.
always looking for those opportunities. So I think
Mhm.
that it really does carry lots of knock-on benefits.
Yeah, I agree. And my battle, I wouldn't call it a battle per se, but when employers would come to campus and they would pluck the entrepreneurship students to be employees, I always kind of had this, is that a good thing? Is that not a good thing? The reality is a lot of students had student debt and they need a job to potentially pay that off. But I did have some students who would keep working on their businesses, keep their college jobs, like serving or bartending or something like that as they built their business, for their postgraduate kind of job decision per se.
Yeah. So I like to run thought experiments on the show.
Mhm.
Where I'm going to put a hypothetical dean of the College of Business at a mid-size academic institution in front of you right now.
Right.
That dean wants to ensure that their entrepreneurship programming is a magnet for business students. What's your advice to this dean?
Yeah, 2 questions. One would be, how are you engaging alumni as mentors to the current students here? And an entrepreneurship program is awesome for that. And then number two, let's be honest, who are the main donors to universities, right? CEOs who are going to be on your board of trustees, entrepreneurs, and typically serial entrepreneurs who have exited a business or two. Um, if you want them to have a degree from this university, an entrepreneurship program is good for that. But it will also be a magnet to get people into your business school, because students, while they can do internships, and they certainly should, what if they're doing projects for startups? Because I'll tell you this, when I'm teaching entrepreneurial finance, the accounting students are the ones that have no idea how to start a balance sheet.
Yeah.
They don't, because they're not taught that. And so if you can start a business and then start your own financial statements from scratch, I would guarantee, as an accountant or public CPA, or even if you do public and go to private, if you know how to do that, you're going to be doing small business tax returns and things like that. So you can learn that.
Yeah, I find that a lot of academic institutions are somewhat disconnected from the business communities that they live and work in, where they've placed the institution. And entrepreneurship programming can, as you've suggested, can be a great tool, a lever for that dean to really nurture those key business relationships.
Right.
Yeah. So, Ryan, no need to name names, but I'm interested about any success stories that you can tell us about from your time as an entrepreneurship instructor and leader. What are some of the knock it out of the park moments that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite one is there was a student who was actually on an exchange program from his country for one semester. And this guy was just, he wanted to soak it all in, learn as much as he could. He would walk up to anybody and just talk to them, just to meet people. And, a few weeks into the semester, I was like, why did you decide that this was going to be your approach, as you spent not even half a year in the United States? And he basically said, look, this is kind of like a one-shot thing for me. This was a really competitive program. And I just thought, I'm just going to do as much as I can while I'm here. So he took one class from me. A few years later, he's getting a master's degree because he was thinking, I might want to be a college professor. And I talked to him, periodically. 2022, he is doing some marketing for his university to increase enrollment. And he figures out this tool that's commonly used by many for lead generation. And it works for his university. And then the business professors in his university said, we have these businesses, these side businesses. Can you help us with lead generation? And of course, he's a guy who would say yes and figure it out later, which all good entrepreneurs probably are, right? So he did that. One of them was a fractional executive. And he figured out just how to do really good lead generation for fractional executives. And that's what he does today. He started a company January 1, 2024. So he's, I don't know, about a year and a half into it now, a little more than that. He's worked with over 300 fractional executives. He has a 100% success rate on lead generation.
Wow.
His first hire was his brother, because of course, who do you trust, right? You typically a family member or a friend. So he did the safe thing. But he employs 100 people.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's a phenomenal story.
Yeah. Hey, before we cut to a commercial break, can you just give us a little bit of background on what it means to be a fractional executive? I think there are some who might be confused by the title, don't quite know what that means. Can you demystify that for us?
Yeah, I mean, the quick history on it is there have been fractional CFOs for a generation or two. In fact, one of the most prominent fractional CFO businesses started in Milwaukee years ago. When startups went from their first hire being the CTO and not the CFO anymore, and they couldn't afford a full-time CTO, that then shifted into fractional CTOs. And then all these other fractional, came through too. Like, when do you typically hire an HR professional? If you've got dozens of employees, right? Well, why not hire them earlier, part-time? And so what fractional executive work is part-time executive team work where you're working for 2 or 3 companies at a time. Now, some fractional executives are also doing consulting projects and interim executive roles and advising and things like that. So there's a lot of other things that fractional executives typically do, but the pure fractional executives are part-time executive team members of more than one company.
Excellent. Thank you for that. We're going to take a really short commercial break, and we'll be right back with Ryan Kauth. Hey everyone, I'd like to invite you to start your weekend with me on the Saturday Morning Muse podcast. I briefly explore topics that span leadership, business management, education, and personal continuous improvement. Subscribe to the Saturday Morning Muse podcast on your favorite podcast streaming app or visit andrewtempty.com for more information. And we're back with Ryan Kauth talking about entrepreneurship and leadership on today's show. Ryan, you were also the director of the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC at UW Green Bay, and I am really confident that many of our listeners are unfamiliar with what happens at a small business development center within an academic institution. Can you help us clarify the role of an SBDC, and specifically, what can an entrepreneur expect when they walk through the door?
Yeah, SBDCs are around the country. Each state kind of does it a little bit differently. In Wisconsin, it's all at the 4-year University of Wisconsin system campuses. But like I said, others are different. So at the SBDCs, typically speaking, anyone with an idea to you thinking about exiting your company, there are essentially small business consultants that can help you through any stage, really any question when it comes to your business. Some of them do business planning courses. Some of them do courses to help train your supervisors, lead people. And so they're all a little bit different, but the core is that small business owners in the communities in each state can go to a small business development center and get no cost business consulting.
So I've known a few people that have had a little bit of trepidation about walking through that door. What are they going to say when I come in? Am I going to be judged? Is my idea good enough? How do you help somebody get over that fear of walking through the door?
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes to hear that your baby is ugly, right? But typically speaking, we're asking a lot of questions to make sure that they have, I don't want to say thought of everything, but thought of most things, so that if they make a decision to launch this business, that it's at least profitable. There's some things set up, legal things, marketing things, that they've talked to customers, right? And so typically we're just going to ask a lot of questions to make sure that, quite frankly, you're ready to launch a company based on your business, or you're ready to buy a company, or you're ready to buy the company that you work for. A lot of our work when I was at the SBDC actually was preparing business owners maybe 2-3 years into their businesses for that first bank loan, because they needed to finance some equipment or expand, or buy the building that they were in so they could remodel it, things like that.
Yeah. Is there a mindset that the founder, idea holder has to have before they walk through the door?
No, because we can help them with all those things. The only mindset you need to have is, can I talk to somebody about this business idea because I'm not sure what step I should take next. That's typically kind of where someone is when they walk through that door. And so being able to take feedback, while that's easier for some
Yeah.
than others. And again, we're not looking to criticize you or judge you. We've helped dozens, hundreds of other entrepreneurs before. So we've kind of been there, done that, or at least seen that. So we're trying to help.
Yeah.
We're not trying to deter you from launching your company. And on occasion, I know there has been some feelings of that once in a while of, I really wanted to do this, but you're not really encouraging me to do it. And like, no, what we're doing is we're asking questions so that you can launch a profitable business. And quite frankly, you can learn from others who have made some mistakes along the way. And by the way, no matter what, you're going to make some mistakes. We just want to make sure the mistakes aren't going to cost you, meaning costing you to close your business.
Yeah, the
Right.
catastrophic errors is
Yeah.
what we're trying
Right.
to avoid, and
Exactly.
having an open mind before
Mhm.
you walk in that door. So, Ryan, we're going to play another game, another thought experiment.
Sounds good.
This time, you have a seasoned entrepreneur sitting in front of you. They built businesses. Maybe sold one or two, but now the
Mhm.
spark seems to be gone. They're really burned out. What's your advice to this individual to get their mojo back?
I mean, generally, the first conversation is really about their priorities. And, as you go through life, your priorities change. As you go through a family life cycle, your priorities change. And so there's nothing wrong with changing priorities, but really that's where we start.
Mhm.
What are you doing now? What do you say your priorities are, and what are you actually doing? And if you've just exited, what are you exiting to? That's a common struggle with many serial entrepreneurs, serial founders, because once they exit, they are looking for kind of their next thing. And quite frankly, fishing every day and golfing every day. And I even say this because, and some people don't like it when I say this, but and even spending time with the grandkids every day, that's not going to do it for you after a few months, maybe a year. Yeah, maybe you want to take a vacation for a year, right? Okay, then what?
Yeah.
So exiting to something is an important conversation in that first one, but it's really about priorities.
Yeah. I like that framing that you just gave everybody. You're not exiting from, you're exiting to.
Too.
And
Yeah,
that's a subtle but very important mindset shift.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ryan, we both live and work in Wisconsin. I've built businesses in Wisconsin and in Iowa, both states that many on the coasts consider flyover.
Mhm.
You get that condescending, what are you, you're from Wisconsin? Is anything interesting happening there?
Yeah.
What's the commercial? What commercial can we both give for the great state of Wisconsin? What makes Wisconsin a great place to do business?
Yeah. First, just to throw out some recent rankings, Milwaukee is now the second best destination for young professionals. Um, and Milwaukee and Wisconsin, Madison, are both top 25 startup cities in the U.S. So I would typically say this: when I have students who go out of Wisconsin after graduation, the thing they always hear, always, and I'm sure it's the same thing for students who are from Iowa and go other places, is the work ethic, right? The Midwest work ethic. In addition to that, quite frankly, the cost of living here is less. So why not hire a few Wisconsinites or Iowans or Midwesterners who have a work ethic, understand it, are willing to dive in, learn, and won't cost you as much. So um, that's typically what I talk about when somebody says, flyover country. Um, a lot of people who live in the upper Midwest like and really value their leisure. And so that's important. And often that leisure involves family members, tinkering on things like boats, motorcycles, snowmobiles, and stuff like that. So um, we're I typically tell people if it's made out of wood or metal and it's not being made between Milwaukee and Marinette, it's probably being made in Germany, and that's about it. So that kind of blue collar DIY, that's the kind of people you want to hire.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. This has been a great conversation. Let's end with a few lightning round questions.
Okay.
So if you're ready for the lightning round.
I'm ready.
Excellent. So question number 1, you just won $100 million lotto jackpot, but there's a stipulation that half of your net winnings go to one philanthropic organization or cause. Who do you pick?
Community foundation.
Nice. Yeah, here in La Crosse, we have the La Crosse Community Foundation, and boy, they invest in dozens, if not dozens and dozens of other philanthropic organizations. I think that's a great choice. What's it look like in your on the east side of the state?
Yeah, there's many. I mean, you go to the Fox Valley area, Green Bay, Manitowoc, Sheboygan, have Lakeshore. The Greater Milwaukee Foundation is amazing. So yeah, I mean, just like you've got yours in La Crosse, those community foundations do a lot of good. And one of the things I really like about community foundations are the ones that help other nonprofits start. So giving capacity building grants to get other nonprofits going, because needs change. And so in the community.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. You're the first guest that's gone the community foundation route. Lightning round question number 2. I give you access to a time machine. You can send a message to an earlier version of Ryan Kauth. What's the message, and what previous version of yourself do you send it to?
I'm going to go with myself around like junior year of college, and I'm going to tell myself to meet more people, and I'm going to tell myself to not always follow what the adults are telling you to do.
Nice. I love it. Not always follow what the adults are telling you to do. That is great advice. Ryan, we are all works in progress. What are you focused on right now in your journey of growth?
Great question. Right now, I'm just trying to get out kind of some content about what I know. So things like when I was talking about priorities before, what I typically go through with serial founders I start working with, I'm putting that out there now, and I kind of go through 10 different things. There are some other things I work with serial founders, and just getting that out there on my LinkedIn and things like that. That's kind of what I'm working on now, because quite frankly, the solutions to the problems, getting those out there is much more important than making a living.
All right. Well, Ryan, where can folks learn more about you and where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. In addition, my website, ryankauth.coach, is right now getting revamped, but it should be up very shortly.
All right. Excellent. Ryan, you've been a fantastic guest today. Lots of wonderful information for our guests. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy, for having me. This is great.
Awesome. Well, my name is Andy Temte. This is the Balancing Act podcast. You can find us on all the major streaming services as well as out on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public good with your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, and maybe even one of those family members that we were talking about before. The show is produced by Nicholas Temte, and we'll see you next time on the Balancing Act.